everyone, it's Marian, and for today's video, I'm sharing with you my top 5 plants that have shown impressive growth in 2022. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm going to try my best to be completely unbiased and very objective when it comes to picking out my top 5 plants that have shown impressive growth in the year 2022. Because whether we'd like to admit it or not, we do tend to play favorites with our house plants, and we tend to ignore plants that we're not currently feeling, even though they're actually one of the best growing plants we have in our plant collection. So that's what I'm going to try my best to do today, is to be very completely objective and just pick out the plants that have shown really impressive growth and not pick my favorites, because that is going to be a separate video, my 2022 favorites and top 10 plants. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Marian. Welcome to my Wasteless Life, where I take you along my houseplant and sustainable lifestyle journey and share with you some of my tips and tricks along the way. And if that type of content interests you, make sure to subscribe to my channel before the end of this video, and make sure to also like this video and comment down below. I would love to hear from you which of your plants have shown amazing growth this year. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So first one that I'm going to share with you is my syngonium chiapense, and I honestly cannot even fit it in front of the entire frame because that's how large this has grown. So maybe at the beginning of the year it was only like this bottom 2 plants with maybe like 2 or 3 more leaves at the bottom that I've since pruned, but it has grown so much since. And if you've been following me for a while, you know I actually put this plant on sale, and I did get offers, but it never really went through, maybe because they found the price a little bit too expensive. And I did intentionally put it at a higher price, because the only reason I would let it go is if it's someone bought it at the price that I set it at. But back then, like I said, it was like very small with maybe like about 5 leaves total. And then at the growing season, I put it outside. I didn't plant it on the ground. I did just put it outside. And I just put it outside next to the tropical garden bed that I created and just let it grow on its own. And surprisingly, it grew and grew and grew and did so well outside that so I have placed this on the floor, and this is like the very top of it. And it's actually outgrown the current plank it has, and it already needs extension so bad, but I haven't gotten around it. I might do it in a separate video for Shortsmas. But yeah, I mean, it's leaning on the wall, so it's kind of still getting supported still. But I'm really amazed with the amount of growth. I'm really amazed with the amount of growth that this syngonium chiapense has. And honestly, she might be a keeper now. I'm not going to try to sell her, but eventually I am going to try to propagate her. So maybe the bottom part of it I am going to be trading or selling away sometime in the future, but the top part definitely I'm going to be keeping. It is such a great plant, and it reminds me of like philodendron plants, like the philodendron gloriosum, but a much easier care, and honestly foolproof plant, because this started out as a single leaf cutting. I got a single leaf cutting from the plant here in Chicago, and I started growing it as that, and now it is like one of my largest climbing plant. So I'm really excited about it. This is also my only plant that has successfully grown on a plank. A lot of my other plants are in like either cocoa coir poles or like D-shaped moss poles. They are doing well on those situations as well, but like I said, this is the only one that worked well in a plank. And when I propagate this, I'm also most likely going to move it to a D-shaped moss pole, because I think it will do better there and would have better support, because right now the plank situation is also not very stable, and it will be a lot more stable if I put it in a D-shaped moss pole. So that's what I'm probably going to do when I do eventually propagate / repot it. So watch out for that, because that's something that I might actually need to do very soon now, and cannot wait until the next growing season. But yeah, first plant that showed impressive growth this year, my syngonium chiapense. And by the way, I'm not doing this in order. Like, this is not number 5 all the way to the number 1 ranked, but just like the top 5 plants that have shown impressive growth in my entire plant collection. And I'm starting off with the syngonium chiapense. Another houseplant that has shown impressive growth this year, my Shangrila pothos. As you can see how much it has grown, It has grown so fast. Typically, the Shangri-La pothos is a much slower growing pothos compared to other epipremnum houseplants. But this one, as you can see, it has grown so much, to be honest. I just keep wrapping it around the top layer of the soil because I don't know what to do with it, to be honest. I know it needs a pole. I might have mentioned it in a previous video, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to do that yet. Look how big it is. To be honest, I've gotten this plant back when I'm very eager to collect every single type of epipremnum pothos plant. And I'm not sure that I'm still in love with this plant, but at the same time, like the syngonium chiapense, I do have a hard time letting it go because it is a great plant nonetheless, and it is still a very much uncommon house plant. It can get pricey depending on the market. And again, it's one of those house plants that I grew from a cutting. So the growth is really impressive, especially I think I started this year with maybe just like one or two short strands or a bunch of like single leaf propagations because I believe, if I remember correctly, it also suffered a bit of a root rot at the start of the year, and I kind of had to start over with it. But now it just like it's starting to trail, and this doesn't really a trailing house plant compared to other epipremnum pothos, so it will need support, but at the same time it doesn't really grow that huge even if you give it support. It's just like, I think like a hoya plant, it just needs something to climb on. But as a trailing house plant, it doesn't look good, at least as far as I've seen, but I don't know, we will see. So right now what I've been doing is just I've been wrapping it around on top of the soil, which makes it look so bushy. So very impressive growth, especially from this year, knowing that this started as a single cutting with just 3 leaves on it. And my third house plant that has shown impressive growth this year, and I know this is also a plant that you've probably seen a few times already in my recent videos, but I really can't deny its spot in the top 5 impressive plant growth this year because it is truly one of the best growers I have this year, which is my scindapsus silver hero. This is also the one that did so well in a cocoa coir poll among all the plants that I put in polls this year. And as you can see with the latest growth, growing huge leaves, growing new ones. At first I was worried because the leaves are no longer laying flat on the cocoa coir pole like it did at the bottom. They're just starting to flare out, as you can see here, because they've been searching for light. But now I have placed it underneath a grow light. It is starting to like grow really huge leaves again. So even though they're no longer like flat like this on the cocoa coir pole, it is still shingling and the leaves are growing really huge. And in fact, I'm noticing that I have to extend it soon. And honestly, I might have to extend it before the year ends. And I'm honestly a bit worried of how am I going to propagate this because unlike my other house plants, like the syngonium chiapense, they do grow really long aerial roots, or the one that I have in D-shaped moss poles, they do grow their aerial roots into the moss pole. With this one, not so much. They would grow enough roots to attach themselves to the cocoa coir pole, but not really enough to the point that if I cut and propagate, it's enough roots for it to survive without being connected to like the main root system in the pot. So I'm kind of worried about that. I might need or seek professional help when time comes for me to propagate this. I'm friends with a few nurseries in the area that might be able to help me out with this plant come time to propagate it or extend its pole because I don't want like to cut it and then lose the plant. So I want to be really careful with that one. So I think if they're watching, they know that I'm about to hit them up for help, and honestly, they could have like half of the plant as long as they help me propagate the rest of it. Honestly, because it's important for me that this plant survives because again, this is one of my best and most impressive grower in the year 2022, my scindapsus silver hero. The fourth plant that have shown impressive growth this year, my Hoya Crimson Queen. And when I was looking at my Hoyas to see which one has shown me impressive growth, to be honest, all of my Hoya plants were pretty good this year. They did really well, but I do think this one stands out because it has grown so much since I remember this being a huge plant and I decided to cut off all the reverted parts and just gave them away, and I actually downsized it to this spot, and it has pretty much come back with a vengeance and grown pretty much all the leaves that I have pruned off last year. And for a Hoya, that is impressive because Hoyas tend to be very slow growers. And what I love about this compared to, let's say, my Hoya Crimson Princess, I don't know if you can see it in frame, is this one has a lot of white leaves and a lot of pink leaves. And I really like that because Hoya carnosa crimsons are also known as Hoya carnosa tricolor, and this one really exhibits the tricolor part of the Hoya carnosa crimson. But what also impresses me about this plant is not just the growth that it had, but the anomaly of growing a vine that is a crimson princess and not a crimson queen. And I've shared this in the past. I tried repotting this once thinking that I repotted a crimson princess by mistake when I repotted the crimson queen that I got from Arid Asia together with this one, but I saw that this part, this crimson princess part, is actually connected to a vine that is growing a regular crimson queen. So I'm really very fascinated about that. Like you can see this white. So this one is the crimson princess, and it shares a vine with this crimson queen white and pink leaf vine. So I don't know if that has happened to anyone else too. Let me know down in the comments if it has happened to you, that your Hoya carnosa tricolor is producing both the crimson princess and the crimson queen. And I think I also mentioned before, if I'm going to choose between this and the crimson princess, I would definitely pick the queen over the princess if I could only keep one of them. So I'm really happy with this one, and definitely deserving of the number 4 spot on my top 5 plants that have shown impressive growth this year. And for the number 5 spot on my plants that have shown impressive growth this year, we'll have to go downstairs to go check that plant out. So come on, let's go. This is my thaumatophyllum bipinnatifidum, formerly known as the philodendron silua. It's not normally here. It's in that corner there. Just put it here so that I could show you all. And honestly, this was a lot bigger during the growing season. I can insert some photos or videos, and it was like really growing huge, really large leaves. I kept some of it, like this one. Look how huge this is compared to my own hand. So when I have to bring it inside, I do prune it down so that it would fit. I even tied the leaves together so that I could just, like, you know, fit it inside the house. But it can grow really huge. And like last year, I actually just put it down to 3 leaves just so I could fit it in that corner with the rest of my plants. But now my dog wants his toy, but it was making noise. I just have to film this clip. Just a second, baby. But yeah, going back. So yeah, so like last winter, I just cut it down to 3 leaves. This year, I didn't have the heart to just like cut it all the way down because it's so beautiful and so huge. But I might have to eventually. This one does go onto dormancy, so I'm not worried about it continue growing inside the house. But once it's outside during the growing season, it can get really, really huge. And as you can see here, it needs watering desperately. But I have been cutting the leaves, so it has kind of like formed a trunk already. And you can see how mature it is. And it's like 3 plants in here. It used to be like, I think 4 or 5. I took out a couple when I repotted it. Tried to plant it outside, didn't really work out. So I just kept them all together here in one pot. But yeah, that's my thaumatophyllum bipinnatifidum, one of my best growers this growing season. Okay, baby, now you can have your toy. Okay, so now you don't want it. You just want to make noise while I'm filming. Yep. Okay. Honestly, that was very hard to pick and very hard to be unbiased and completely objective, because I could pick out maybe another 5 more plants that have shown impressive growth this year. But like I said, I'm trying to be unbiased and not pick favorites. So you will see them anyways in my upcoming videos for Plantmas/vlogmas. But nevertheless, I am very happy with the plants that made it to my top 5 most impressive growth this year. So if you're kind of familiar with my plant collection, or if you spot any plants behind me or throughout the video that you think, no, I think this plant deserves a spot on your list, then let me know down in the comments. But also let me know which of your plants have the most impressive growth this year. I would love to hear from you and maybe share some of your tips on how that plant had such an impressive growth this year. Again, I just want to remind everyone that my 2023 Plantiful Planner is now available. Please go check it out. The links are down in the description. But thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, do subscribe. I come up with videos every week. And if you haven't yet, check out these videos up here until my next one. But until then, I see you. I appreciate you. Take care of yourself and each other and have a plentiful day. Bye.